not much to look at? Pat Novak wouldn't agree. As far back as Pat can remember, he's known this street. It has many warm memories for him. He'll be sorry to leave it. Pat's family will soon be moving. His father and mother are looking for a new place to live. They like their apartment, but with Pat and Annette getting bigger, they don't have enough room. Mrs. Novak studies the newspaper ads, while Pat's father locates the addresses on a map of the city.
Here's one that looks pretty good. 421 North Avenue, 3 bedrooms, newly redecorated.
North Avenue. Yeah, that's good for location. Okay, let's have a look at that.
Dad, where are we on the map?
Right here. There's our block.
That little space? Are all these other squares whole blocks?
Right. Now, here's where we are, right here. And there's our neighborhood. This is downtown, right in the middle of everything with the great big buildings. Here's the river. And right here are all the factories.
That may be a bit too much to take in just from some lines on a map. But Pat is having a chance to get to know the city a little better. The Novak family goes exploring every weekend, looking for a new place to live. Leaving their own neighborhood, they travel into parts of the city Pat and Annette have never seen. With all the traffic, it takes a long time to get from one place to another.
Now there's the way we really ought to travel to see the city.
Yeah. Pat is quite right. From here you can see the whole city and the different parts that make up a city. Here is the downtown section, the business center, crowded with buildings and people. Here are the factories and workshops of the industrial area. Here on the waterfront is where the city began hundreds of years ago. For the city grew up as a great port in the ocean trade. Some residential areas, places where people live, are scattered about here. There are luxury apartments near the downtown area and smaller homes near the factories. Farther out are larger residential areas. And surrounding the city are the suburbs, where people live with more space around their homes. Each of these areas, commercial, industrial, residential, and also recreational, provides something the people of the city need. These different sections are joined by a network of streets and highways, rail lines, rapid transit systems, and bus lines that carry people and goods around the city. During the week when he is working, Pat's father must travel all over town, repairing business machines. Because many people would like to have their businesses here, the downtown center is very crowded. This makes land very expensive. The buildings rise upward, so that large numbers of people can work on small parcels of land. One building may provide working space for thousands of workers, as many people as might live in a small town. The city's businesses depend on skilled repairmen like Mr. Novak to keep their equipment working properly. Far below, the streets are crowded with people. And though Mr. Novak may not see them, sometimes in the crowd, Mrs. Novak and Annette are here on a shopping trip. Annette enjoys shopping downtown. She loves the excitement, looking in shop windows, seeing the first-run movie theaters, and just watching other people. Most of the largest stores are in the downtown area because until recently, the central location made it more convenient for people from all over the city to get there. Now Mr. Novak calls his company for his next assignment. Like the streets that crisscross the city, the telephone lines also tie the city and its business together. Mr. Novak's work often takes him into the industrial areas, the city's workshop, where most of its factories and warehouses are located. It's not nearly so crowded here because factories need lots of space. They are usually built where the land can be bought more cheaply than downtown. But industries are always built along railroad lines, large highways, or waterways, so that goods can be shipped in and out as cheaply and as quickly as possible. This is an ocean port, so many of the city's industries are located near the harbor. In sight of the downtown area, much of the city's early industry developed. But as land in the city has become more expensive and better highways have been built, many manufacturing plants have moved out around the edges of the city into the suburbs. In the factories Mr. Novak visits, city people. The factories need thousands of workers with skills and experience in many kinds of work. The people of the city also provide a large nearby market for the goods they produce in the factories. In their search for a new place to live, Pat's family visits residential areas in all parts of town. This neighborhood near the industrial section has some appeal for Pat's father because it is near many of the plants he visits during the week.
It's awfully close to work. Pretty good price, too.
I know, but there's going to be noise of those trucks all day long, and look at the dirt coming out of those factories. Maybe that's why it's cheap.
I guess you're right.
The Novaks look farther out in the suburbs around the edges of the city. Here they find newer homes with more green space and more quiet streets, newer schools and stores. Pat thinks he might like that, although it doesn't seem as exciting as the old neighborhood. Mother and Dad would prefer it too, but...
Only trouble is I was figuring out how much the payments on that mortgage would be.
That's a lot.
And for Dad, there are other kinds of problems as well.
Look how far we are from here. See this?
Way down to here.
Could be an hour and a half more to get to work every morning, plus the expense.
So, though it would be nicer to live out here, it would cost more than they think they can afford. And Dad would have to work longer hours because of the time it would take getting to and from work. The residential areas Pat's family visits are different in many ways, but in each, they look closely at how well their basic needs will be served. They want stores nearby to make shopping convenient. In the suburbs, they find new big shopping centers, though they will have to drive to them. In other neighborhoods, they will be able to walk to the nearby stores. They want a good school near their home. And they want police and fire protection, good hospitals, and other community services. And, of course, they are concerned that there be other children for Pat and Annette to play with. This is the neighborhood where the Novaks finally find the home that seems to meet their particular needs. Like many family decisions, this one was a compromise. The new home is not too far from Mr. Novak's work, but is located farther out than the old neighborhood. Pat and Annette are already getting to know the neighborhood kids. They learn there's a playground only 2 blocks away, and the ballpark is nearby, too. For millions of people, the city is a way of life. Here they find the greatest variety of interesting things to see and do. A city becomes what it is because of people who live in it, people like Pat's family. Why they come here, where they choose to live, the kinds of work they do, how they spend their leisure. All these things make the city. A city that is never still, always changing. In their new home, Pat has a room of his own. But in spite of this, he feels a little homesick about leaving their old place. He isn't so sure about this new experience. But suddenly, Pat feels at home again.